What's good, JMoney crew? You already know who it is. It's your boy, the Ballin' JMoney, and I'm back again with another pool video. Today's video, we're going to do another segment of Shane Van Boening's shaft aiming method in the game of 8-ball. Now, of course, if you haven't seen the first one yet, it's this video right here, which you can also find in the playlist at the end of this video, or the playlist should be in the description of this video as well. Make sure you check out that method, and let me know if you guys watched it in the comments section. But now, in this video, we're going to play 8-ball using Shane Van Boening's method. So let's grab our cue and let's get started. So we're just going to go ahead and put the cue ball in the center. Don't matter where you put the cue ball. And now, of course, you don't want to put the cue ball in the center every single time, but we will in this case. We'll just use the center of the shaft, hitting the center of the one on the break. Okay, not too shabby, not too shabby. So we'll just go ahead and get started with the 10 ball since it's the easiest shot in this segment. So the contact point is a little bit of the left side, so we're going to aim with right middle of the shaft, or as I would say, right center. So we're going to start with stripes. So here on this ball right here, which is the 14, contact point is a little bit to the left. So we're going to aim with the middle right side of the shaft. Ooh, that's a tough miss. Okay, well, we'll switch to solids now. Now with the 1, contact point is here, which is the right side, like a quarter of the right side. So in this case, we're going to use middle left of the shaft and aim with the 1. So you can see how I'm not like taking my time and trying to use the cue ball to aim. I'm using the shaft. So now if we go with the 5, this is going to be about 1/3 of the edge. So we're going to use center of the right side, aiming at that contact point. We'll use the center because it's not too much cut. It was a cut shot, but we didn't need too much of it. Now, like with the 6 ball, for instance, we're not going to hit the center of the shaft in this case. We're just going to go into that corner pocket with the 6. There's our contact point. So since the 6 is going to my right, we're going to aim with the middle right. Like so. So that was the middle right side of the shaft, center right. Now, if we're going to try to get that 3 down to the corner, that 3 is kind of risky going into the side. But if we were to go down to that corner, we would use the center of the shaft, okay? Because the contact point is a little bit to the left. Okay, so if it's a little bit to the left of center or right of center, you could use the center of the shaft. So let's see if we can do it. And we were off just by a hair, but you see how close that was. Hopefully y'all got to see. I hope I didn't block the camera, but it bounced in and out, so that one was a tough one. So let's switch to stripes now. So let's say we want to hit the 9 right here. So looking at the edge, we're going to use center of the edge of the shaft, the center part of the shaft, and aim at that contact point. The reason why even though it was a slight cuts, you can use the center of the shaft, so keep that in mind. Now if we cut this 4, now we're not going to use the center of the shaft because this is a wider cut. This is what they call a cut-induced throw right here. So this is, the contact point's the far right, so we're going to aim with the middle left side of the shaft, aiming directly at that contact point. So apparently I missed the contact point just by a little bit. Those cut-induced throws can be tough to shoot too. So you got to put in a lot of practice. So now if we switch to solids, contact point is here. This is slightly to the left side of center, so we could just use the center of the shaft and aim at the contact point. Now we look at the 3 ball. This looks like it's a center shot. Well, not quite. Contact point is slightly to the right side of center, so we could just use the center of the shaft to aim the 3. Now, of course, I'm in a bad spot for the next one, so I'm going to have to play safety. So let's try to get that 7. So if you're playing safety, just use the center of the shaft. Ooh, the 8 ball almost went in. But that's okay. So now we switch to stripes. Let's say we want to go for the 12. Contact point is here, so that is about a quarter of the left side. So we're going to aim with the middle right side of the shaft at that contact point. Like so. Meanwhile, we got a shot on the 14. We look at the contact point on the 14, it's going to be a quarter of the left side of the object ball where the tip of my stick is. So that means we're going to aim with the far left side of the shaft. So that was the far left side of the shaft because that was a pretty tough cut. Now we got another tough cut here on the 11 because the contact point is about, if I put the cue ball right above, contact point is about there. So from here we're going to use the far left side of the shaft. So we're going to need the mechanical bridge in this case. You can still use Shane Van Boening's method with the mechanical bridge. Just make sure that the contact point is lined up with the far left side of the 11 in this case, and let's see if we can make it. Pretty good. Not bad. So now we got a little situation where we got to do a combination. So you can still use Shane Van Boenings's method with this. So of course we're going to use the center of the shaft, aim in the left side of the 15. And of course we didn't hit no combo at all. That's totally fine. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue. We got the 7 ball right here. The contact point is far left side. Now even though this is up close and personal, we still got to stick with our mechanics when it comes to his method. So far left side of the shaft is going to aim at the contact point. Like that. Meanwhile, with the 2, we're going to go straight down to the corner. So contact point is on the far right side of the object ball. So we're going to use the far left side of the shaft and aim at that contact point with the far edge of the left side. Woo, that was pretty close. Pretty tough shot, but that was close. Okay, let's continue on with the 14, or stripes I mean, so this is 13. Contact point is right quarter edge near the far right side. So since the ball is going to the left, we're going to aim with the far left side of the shaft and aim it at the contact point. And we're off just by a little bit. So if you ever have a shot like that where it goes in and out like that, that means you got to slow down your strokes. So now we're going to try this shot again going that way. Still going to use the left side of the shaft. And get that 2 into the pocket. So that time we got it done correctly. And then let's try to finish it off with the 8 ball going into the corner pocket. So there's our contact point right there. So it's a quarter of the right side of the shaft. So in this case, we're going to aim using the far left side of the shaft. We're off again just by a little bit. So you can see I'm not perfect at this game, but at the end of the day, I do know how this method works. So now let's switch to stripes. Here's our contact point going right here. So we're going to aim with the middle right side of the shaft. Middle right side of the shaft, aiming at the contact point. Just like that. And then with the cue position of where it's at now, we can go straight downtown to the corner on the 13. Contact point is on the right side of the shaft of the ball. So with the ball going right or the left, the contact point is on the left. Ball is going to go to the right. So that means we're going to use the middle right side of the shaft and aim it at that contact point. And unfortunately we scratched, but let's go ahead and play in the kitchen and finish it off with the 8 ball going dead center of the side pocket like this. And just like that, we finish the game of 8 ball. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to add another interesting factor about trying to explain Shane Van Boening's method once again. Now, of course, in this video, you guys watched me do an actual game of the method. But what you guys have not noticed is me using a carbon fiber shaft when it comes to aiming with Shane Van Boening's method, because everybody knows with a carbon fiber shaft, there is no white ferrule like on the cues that I have on the wall here. So what I have in this case is my only carbon fiber cue in my cue collection, and I have a couple of review videos about this carbon fiber cue, and of course I've said it before in my past videos, but I might as well go ahead and just update that I rarely use my carbon fiber cue at my personal table because, again, I have multiple cues. But for the sake of trying to educate people about Shane Van Boening's method, I just want to give you guys a better understanding if you guys use his method with a carbon fiber cue. Now, you guys can see that with the carbon fiber cue, there is absolutely no ferrule whatsoever. I mean, there is like maybe a little black ferrule on the edge of my particular carbon fiber shaft, and of course, you guys can see that it's carbon fiber because there's no wood in the center. So, with this particular carbon fiber cue, you're still gonna aim with your shaft. You just gotta be a little bit more vigilant when it comes to trying your best to line up certain parts of the shaft to the contact point like I mentioned before. So if we just go ahead and take these pieces off of the base of the cue and put it together, I'll go ahead and show you guys a few examples, and this time we're going to do 7 different shots instead of 5, because I did mention in my other Shane Van Boening video, I did mention that there was 7 parts of the ball that you have to pay attention to when it comes to the contact point. So the only way I can do that is by giving you guys 7 different shots. Now, 3 of the shots on each side is going to target one of those 2 pockets. So these 3 balls will go into that pocket, these 3 balls will go in that pocket, and then we can just make a final choice on that one. So we'll save that 12 ball for last since it's in the center. So let's start with the 8 ball. So we find that contact point, which is right here, okay? And as we line up the shaft to the center of the cue ball, once we find that contact point, we're right here. So in this case, it does look like the middle left side of the shaft is lined up to the contact point. So all we have to do with the carbon fiber shaft is just do our best to make sure that the middle left side of the shaft is lined up to the contact point. So if we do this correctly, you should be okay with pocketing the ball into the pocket. So now we got the 1 right here, that's the next one on this side of the table. So if we line up this one, we could clearly see that the center of the shaft is lined up to the contact point. So this is a specific shot where you can use the center of the shaft, even though this is not a straight shot, because if we look at the straight shot, it's going to hit the left edge of the pocket. So what we have to do, if we're going to aim with the left side of the contact point with a little bit of left side of center, we still aim with the center of the shaft, but we got to do our best to make sure that when we're aiming, basically the middle right side of the shaft is aimed at the center of the ball, not the contact point. So instead, the center of the shaft is lined up to the contact point in this case. And that's how we'll be able to make that shot with a really little cut as possible. Now for the 5, this is going to definitely be a little bit wider cut. So then when we rotate, we could see how now the contact point is on the left side of the object ball, but it looks like the far right side of the shaft is closest to that contact point. So when I go down, the far right side of the shaft is going to aim at the contact point. Just like so. Again, the far right side aimed at that contact point. So we'll save the 12 for last, like I said before. So let's go ahead and work our way to the left side of the pocket. So now if we look at the 9 in this case, this is the contact point here. So now if we line up the contact point to the center of the cue ball, you could see how the right side of the shaft is lined up to the contact point, but it looks like the far right side of the shaft is closest to the contact point. So let's see what happens if I line the far right side to the contact point. Far right side of the shaft to the contact point. So that turned out to be a good choice. Cutting it far right side. Now remember, once again, if you guys have not seen my other video about this method, whatever direction the ball is going is the side of the shaft you're going to aim with. So now with this shot, this is the only shot out of all 7 shots that's going to be a straight shot. Guaranteed a straight shot. So how do you perfect a straight shot with Shane Van Boening's method? It's very simple. You just aim with the center of the shaft. Aim dead center, where the center of the shaft is going to hit the center of the cue ball, and everything is lined up to the center of the object ball. So if you do this correctly on your final stroke, you should have no problem making the straight shot. So now let's take a look at the 7. I'm going into that left pocket. Here is the contact point at this angle. So if we line up that point to the center of the cue ball, you can see right away that the far left side of the shaft is lined up to the contact point. So the far left side is going to line up to the contact point. Like so. Now, in this last shot, I wanted to save this one for last because I want to give you guys something interesting about Shane Van Boening's method. Now, of course, if we cut this way, that means we're going to use the far right side of the shaft. If we cut this way to the left, then we use the left side of the shaft. But y'all might wondering, can we use Shane Van Boening's method when it comes to banks? Yes, you can. Now this will sound crazy, but you can use Shane Van Boening's method when it comes to banks. So how are we going to bank this 12 into this pocket, for instance, right over here to my right? It's very simple. We got to figure out 2 different points. There's the aiming point, which is the point on the rail that we want the object ball to go down to this pocket, and the point on the ball that we need to hit to make sure the ball lines up. So we got to find the aiming point first. And the way I do it is just use the edge of the rail with my shaft, rotate to where we create a line from the center point lined up to the object ball to the rail, and then create that line from that point to this pocket. And then if we walk up to the line, we want to get that point where that line meets up with this ball, okay? And then we put our finger there, and we're going to create another vertical line from that point to the rail. So now, since this is the point lined up here from that line going diagonal, now where the point of the shaft is, that's the aiming point. So now that we got the aiming point down correctly, all we have to do is create another line from that aiming point to the contact point. So that aiming point, we could think of that aiming point as the pocket. So that way we can get it to bank it to the right corner. So then when we bring it back, this is the contact point to that edge. So then if we line up this shot, we can just do business as usual. So instead of this pocket being our aiming point, this part of the rail is the aiming point to bank it. So once again, here is the point. So when we line it up, we can see that the middle right side of the shaft is our contact point, and the middle right side of the shaft is the aiming point to here, to the rail. So if we do this correctly, we're going to aim the middle right side of the shaft to that point so it can bounce off the aiming point of the rail and down to this corner. Let's see what happens. And as I hope y'all saw, I backed up so you guys can see it, but you see how it went off that aiming point, hitting the contact point, and down the rail. I've never mentioned this in any of the videos talking about Shane Van Boening's method, but now you guys see for the first time where you can use Shane Van Boening's method with bank shots. So there is an example of playing 8-ball using Shane Van Boening's method. Now I know you guys see me miss some crazy shots and even fouled on the last strike ball. But I want y'all to understand something. I didn't use any cue control whatsoever. I was hitting the center of the ball on every single shot, because this video is not about cue control or cue positioning. This video is all about how to aim before you shoot. So at the end of the day, if you cannot pocket balls, then cue position and cue control means nothing. So we'll get into more in-depth videos in the future about cue control and cue position, but for right now, we're focusing strictly on aiming with our channel. So I hope everybody has enjoyed this video, and if you did, let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified on my next future videos. Now always remember, strive for greatness, don't waste your talents and skills, and always strive for greatness. But I hope to see you all in my next pool video. Peace, I'm out.